Hey guys, don't know if anybody is in here. I think I saw one person or so flash in and out. Um, not out of the chat, but on. Hey Craig. Well, I know Craig's here. I was gonna say I seen somebody kind of flipping in and out there. Um, so I'll talk about a few housekeeping things just to give you know a few more people time to get in here if they would like. Um, but as I said, the last few streams I've done, I have a new Facebook page, a new Deadites on Deck page where I'm doing the advertising for um, my streams now. Like I said before, I don't envision myself advertising on anybody else's page. It's not for any particular reason other than I just thought I would keep all my stream advertisements in one area. That way, people would be get more accustomed to going to the Deadites on Deck page to see when I'm going to have something. For you, those of you that are subscribed to my YouTube channel, the Evil Dead Chick channel, where I have the Deadites on Deck streams, you should get notifications um, through your email, maybe, or I'm not sure exactly how that works. I think it gives me notifications about my streams through email. Um, but feel free to visit the Deadites on Deck Facebook page and join or like if you would like to do that, because that's another way for you to keep up with when I'm going to have a live stream. Now I know I've been kind of lax about having these Cheese Extreme Wednesday things up. I need to start putting them up. Like right after I do one, I need to put up, hey, Menelect, I need to start putting the next one up right after I get done with this one because it really doesn't take that long to do it. I just get kind of lazy and then I don't do it. And then it's pretty much my own fault if not very many people show up. And I'm sorry, my phone's going off. If it goes off too many more times, I'll probably have to turn the Teams chat off through my work because, like, evidently some of our people work all hours of the day and night. I sure as heck wouldn't want their job. I'm glad when my shift is over at 4:30. But in addition to the Deadites on Deck Facebook page link, there are also links to my Etsy shop, the Morbid Beauty Boutique, where you can get candles and stickers and pint glasses and all kinds of different things. Also, there's a link to my TeePublic page where you can get some Deadites on Deck t-shirts. I'm hoping to have I have a separate TeePublic storefront for what I hope will be some Blood Lake shirts, especially some Little Tony shirts for you guys that are enamored with Little Tony or have heard me talk about it and want to get a shirt with him on it. I should have some designs here before long, I hope. If you go to any of or you click on any of these links and some of them don't work, please let me know and I will try to find you a URL that works. Hey, Darren. So that you can, browse the things I have for sale in case you're interested in buying anything. And I do, even though Steve says that I shouldn't do this, that I should just keep putting out the t-shirts on TeePublic and letting them do the legwork. I'm not greedy for money. I don't want anybody to think that. But basically, you guys have, and I appreciate you guys that have purchased shirts, but basically I only get about $2 a shirt. And if I were to make them myself with a heat press, it'd probably take some practice to get decent at it. But if I do that, then you guys would probably feel more like you were supporting me when you purchased a t-shirt, because pretty much all the money would go to me. I think Etsy takes out a little bit of their cut, but it's not like TeePublic. TeePublic takes the majority of the money because they do the legwork of creating these shirts from your design. And I get that. So I figured too that I might be able to have more leeway of making different designs. Um, I, I really don't envision somebody complaining about copyrights on Blood Lake stuff. I still might run into trouble with even with the Etsy shop if I tried to do things with the Evil Dead type stuff. I don't know how people get away with doing it on TeePublic and some of these other places. They blatantly put, I mean, stuff like this they'll put on, not exactly like this, but I mean it's clearly Evil Dead. It says Evil Dead on it. Um, but I just want to try to get more creative too, and try to make stuff myself and come up with designs on my own and all of that. Craig, you say do that, Dana. Make them yourself. You would make great T-shirts. Well, like I said, I think it's going to take some practice because I've never used a heat press. Now I've used an iron and done iron-on transfers. But I think this heat press would be a lot better than just using an iron and doing transfers. Um, or at least that is my hope, um, that it would be better. But I'm going to save up for a heat press, not a very large one, about a medium sized one, and then I'm going to start practicing once I get that, and then hopefully we'll have some, Blood Lake t-shirts, little Tony from Blood Lake on there, maybe some of the other characters from Blood Lake will be on there. So, and I also wanted to remind everybody that this Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be doing the Pieces Watch Along as promised. So anybody that's interested in that, I have a link to the YouTube channel that has pieces actually in English. There was another version I found. I'm glad I listened to it before I posted that link. I believe it was in Spanish or something. It was definitely not in English. So I did find a link on YouTube for the full version. It appears to be uncut. I even went and checked like some of the goriest scenes in it, which are quite a few in pieces, to make sure that it did not appear cut. So I've included that link in the post for the watch along. And again, the reason why I am not going to I'm not going to stream the movie is because there's a big chance that I would get a copyright strike for doing that. And I don't really want to do that. So I figure if everybody that is participating in the watch along either watches it from that link or has another way to watch it while I'm watching it, and we can try to get synced up as well as we can, so that everybody can pretty much watch it at the same speed, at the same time. We're not too far off from each other as far as the scenes. I think the burning one that I did last time went pretty well. So we're going to continue on with our monthly watch-alongs. And I think for the next few months we have some picked. If you would like to bring up suggestions for ones later on after we go through the ones that we've got set up now, feel free to do that. I will take any and all movies into consideration, and then we'll kind of, like, you guys that are in here the most can help me decide which one we're doing for the months that we have not picked one for. But Pieces is this Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So, and I also, before I get into the movies for this Cheese Extreme or Extreme Cheese Wednesday, I want to talk about what Craig, you recommend I Spit on Your Grave, the original, if you didn't watch it already in the watch along. No, we have not, Craig, so I will surely take that into consideration. Um, and if for those of you that are in here, if I Spit on Your Grave sounds like a good one to do, in your opinion, um, I will go ahead and schedule it. And it'll be a forthcoming one. So, but next Wednesday, I have decided on Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers and Horror House on Highway 5. So you can look forward to that for next week's Cheese Extreme Wednesday. So, with that, all that being said, I think we'll just go ahead and get into the movies. We might have more people join us a little later. I'm not really sure. But, I don't want to waste, a whole lot of time, because those of you that are in here probably are saying, come on, Dana, let's get to the movies, Enough of this housekeeping stuff. So, I'm going to go ahead and start with talking about Frankenhooker, which is a Frank Henenlotter film, the same guy that did Basket Case. Now, I don't want to give overkill, because it wasn't like real super recent, but I was on a stream with Uncle Bill talking about Frank Henenlotter movies, and I know we did talk about Frankenhooker, so I'm not going to go on and on about it for a super long time, but you guys feel free to, hey Chris B, feel free to put your own comments in there about Frankenhooker, maybe the first time you saw Frankenhooker, what the experience was like for you, etc., etc. And feel free to, put that in the chat, because I always glance back and forth at the chat as I am going through these movies. And again, I apologize for my voice. It's my throat is a little scratchy today. Today has been one of my rough days health-wise. But I did really want to do this. I really did want to do this stream tonight. So, Frankenhooker. I would imagine that most, if not all of you in the stream or in the chat, have seen this movie. This movie has so many cheesy parts, but fun, entertaining parts in it. I mean, from the time of the girlfriend's accidental death by a lawnmower, by remote control lawnmower, I believe, to the spectacular ending and all the stuff in between, including the prostitutes that get on the super crack that makes them explode. I mean, this movie has got it all. I mean, I think it might be slightly more wacky than the original Basket Case. Not by much, but by a little bit. Joe Bob Briggs said back when he was on doing drive-in theater for the movie channel, he said he gave it 4 stars. He said it was the best of 1990. And, I really couldn't disagree with him on both of those things, just because this movie is just so wacky and so fun and so full of just one outrageous scene after the other, pretty much. And Frank Henenlotter is the master when it comes to that. And I love Frank Henenlotter because he really doesn't seem to give a shit, really. He's going to put his movies out there. If you like them, great. If you don't like them, great. But he's going to keep making them. And I have great respect for somebody that can do that, knowing that some people, a portion of the movie watching audience, is going to think his movies are shit. But like I said, he doesn't care. He's not. I'm sure he's happy that people get entertainment value out of them. Who wouldn't be? Something you create is able to provide entertainment for people. But I don't think that the audience at large is really who he's making these for. I think he's making them for Frank. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that he's conceited or anything. I'm just saying I think he makes them for himself first on that personal level, and then if the audience at large likes them as well, which seeing his track history, they do. Now you've got people like my dad that the first time I showed him and my mom Basket Case, he told me that was the stupidest movie he'd ever seen. But he said that about a lot of movies, so technically it's not the stupidest movie he's ever seen if he said it about more than one movie. Hey, John, you say, hey, all, good old Henenlotter. Yes, sir. Henenlotter is one of my favorites. John, you say, I'm up for hearing anything besides Annabelle films. I'm over Killer Doll things. Sorry. Well, I'm glad I'm not talking about Child's Play. But I should be getting my 4K of Child's Play about August 16th. It wasn't supposed to come out until September, but it turns out it's coming out in August, which that's the only thing I'll say about Killer Doll movies, John. Darren, you say, I didn't get around to watching Frankenhooker, but interested in your thoughts, though. Well, hopefully this will make you want to go out or go and watch it after this live stream, Darren. Let's see. Craig, you say, I have never seen Frankenhooker, but I've definitely seen all the Basket Cases, and I love them. And if it's the same guy, right after your stream, I'm going to watch it. Well, I highly recommend it, Craig, and I hope you enjoy it as much or more as the Basket Case films. Chris V, you say, I've always been partial to Brain Damage, but Frankenhooker is a close second. Yeah, if I remember correctly, Uncle Bill and I actually rated the Henenlotter films, and I think he was a little bit surprised with my choices. But I do like Brain Damage as well. I guess probably my least favorite, and this might not be a popular answer, but probably my least favorite Henenlotter film is Bad Biology. And I mean, Bad Biology is okay, but for me, it didn't seem to have that that spark, that ultimate, I don't give a shit attitude. I'm going to put this entertaining, wacky film out there. And it's just in your face and stuff. And I'm not saying there aren't parts of Bad Biology that are in your face. I'm just saying, I just think he did it better with Frankenhooker, Basket Case, Brain Damage, all of those. I just enjoy them more. Maybe because Bad Biology was a little bit later than the others. Make sure you say Chucky went woke. Johnny said, I like Chucky, but it's crazy. It got 8 to 9 movies all over a doll with a smoker's voice. LOL. I mean, I love part 1. Yeah, I mean, Child's Play could have been one of those things. And I'm not saying I haven't seen the sequels, but Um, one of those movies that if they had never made another one, I would have been fine with it. It could have been a one off, and I would have been completely satisfied. Because I just felt like probably after the second one, they were all uneven as far as quality and by that time, like by the time of part three, I just feel like personally for me, the uniqueness of the killer doll thing was starting to wear thin with me, even at that early stage. I just personally did not care for part three. Some of the later ones, I kind of like some parts of some of them, and not so much with some of the others. Um, let's see. Chris V, you say Frankenhooker is a must watch for those that haven't seen it. Well, I would agree there, Chris V. Um, X-Ray, you say, haven't seen Bad Biology yet. Is it basically Henenlotter's The Ward? I don't know if I would call it that, X-Ray, but I just felt like with Bad Biology that it was one of those things where not quite as bad as Drag Me to Hell was with throwing every Sam Raimi cliche in it. But I just felt like maybe Henenlotter had reached a point where he was like, let's just throw a bunch of shit up on the screen and see what sticks. And it just seemed like a more tired movie than some of his others. So maybe I am way off base because, some of my opinions people don't necessarily agree with, and that's okay. I like it that we're all different. Actually, you say Chucky 2 was the best sequel, but it's weird how there were no security cameras in the factory to capture a killer doll chasing and killing people. Exactly. So one thing I thought was weird about Chucky 3, how come that batch of bloody doll plastic didn't make an entire army of Chuckies? That would have been cool. Yeah, it probably would have been. I just wasn't, I guess I wasn't that thrilled with the whole sending Andy off to military school thing or wherever he was. I think it was military school. Um, I don't know. And the older Andy got, the less effective Chucky scene. Because in the first one, and I know I'm getting on killer doll things, but I just want to bring this up. In the first one, Andy was so young that when that kid cried, you could feel that he was really terrified of this doll that was going to kill him and take over his body. Um, and when he cries, it's literally the cries of a young child. Um, and again, I think the older the actor or actors got that played Andy, the less effective everything was. Um, John, you say Frankenhooker is a memorable one. That beefy pimp guy, can't forget him. There's a lot of unforgettable characters in this movie. X-Ray, you say Zorro was the muscle pimp's name. He gave Daner the vapors. Well, not actually, X-Ray. uh, John, you say, right? A serial killer possessed doll tried to kill you. Sorry, kid, you're going to military school. Ridiculous. Yeah, it was so much better when they made poor Andy stay at the mental hospital or the child's mental hospital ward and sent his mother away, wouldn't let him be with his mother. And how terrifying would that be if that was real and there was something really trying to kill this very young child, and nobody at this hospital believed him. And when Andy is like reaching through the bars or whatever in that door, and he's trying to get this doctor to listen to him, and he's like, please, he's trying to kill me. And he just kind of slides down and cries. That is one of the most effective scenes I've seen in a horror movie. Let's see. Chris V, you say Patty Mullen is so good in Frankenhooker. Can't believe she wasn't a bigger star in the genre. Yeah, I kind of wondered about that too, Chris V. Why Patty Mullen? I mean, was it her choice, or why didn't she, go on to bigger and better things, or at least in this genre. Actually, you say, I had Patty Mullen on my friends list. She kind of went crazy at the beginning of the COVID pandemic and started posting kooky shit. Really? Like what kind of kooky shit, X-Ray? Because I, I don't think Patty Mullen is on my friends list. But yeah, she was great in the movie. Uh, but a little bit more about Frankenhooker. I just find myself laughing almost this entire movie. Um, Basket Case is the same way. Brain damaged. Brain damage to me seems a little bit darker than both Frankenhooker and Brain Damage. Um, I mean Frankenhooker and Basket Case. I mean, and so although I'm entertained by Brain Damage and I enjoy Brain Damage, these Frankenhooker and Basket Case both seem like um, they're in it for the gags, but they're also in it for the laughs. You know what I mean? They're. I don't think Frank Henenlotter was adverse to putting a gross out scene on there, but I think he also wanted you to laugh or you to say, "Oh my God, I can't believe he did that. I can't believe he put that on here." Just like the whole scene in Basket Case where Bilal is trying to have sex with Dwayne's girlfriend. Um, that whole scene is just so wild and over the top. And the first time you see it, you're like, oh my God, did they go there? Yes, they did. They did go there. And so Frankenhooker has a little bit of that as well. Like, where else are you going to see exploding hookers? Um, and why would you see exploding hookers in any other movie except a movie called Frankenhooker? So, what basically happens is at the beginning of this movie, a scientist, a young scientist's girlfriend, is basically chopped up by a remote control lawnmower. So then he decides to put his beloved back together. Hence the Frankenstein syndrome or Frankenstein story. Um, but where's he going to get these other body parts to put on her? Well, he's going to go and he's going to feed this special crack that he's got to these hookers. Then when they explode, he's going to take all their many body parts and he's going to piece his girlfriend back together. Okay? So it doesn't quite turn out the way he expected it to turn out. In fact, it goes wildly awry. Uh, and his girlfriend, played by Patty Mullen, goes out in the city with her. I can't even do what her face does. It's like, and she's like just going up to guys, want a date, and like if you say or do the wrong thing, she'll just kill you at a moment's notice. Um, so it is just the most amazingly outrageous film, or one of the most amazingly outrageous films I've ever seen in my life. I love it. God bless Frank Henenlotter is all I can say for creating these very entertaining, wildly outrageous films. Let's see. X-Ray, you say, I think Frankenhooker is Frank's best work. Brain Damage is really good, but very grim and mean-spirited. Yeah, exactly, X-Ray. Exactly. You say, I think Frankenhooker is Frank's most accessible film. Surprised it didn't get more mainstream work after that. Though, I don't even know if Frank Henenlotter would want to take mainstream work. That's where I think Frank Henenlotter is quite a bit different than some of these other guys that started out doing the low budget stuff. Like, I don't think you could offer Frank Henenlotter a superhero movie and he'd be, oh, heck yeah, that's what I always wanted to do. He'd probably look at you like, what in the hell are you talking about? I'm going to go back and make my low budget crap. Leave me alone. I'm having fun doing that. That's the attitude that I would envision Frank Henenlotter having if somebody tried to offer him something mainstream. Whereas these other guys, and I'm not saying that I'm knocking them for it, I'm just saying perhaps they grew up eventually wanting to do something like that. Sam Raimi was offered comic book superhero films, and he jumped at the chance. Some of the other guys, shoot, I'm just drawing a blank all of a sudden. I'll think of it here in a minute. See, that's part of, I think the COVID after effects have caused me to have a little bit of brain fog. So I would rather it be that though than early onset Alzheimer's or something awful like that. But I'm just saying that I think some of these other guys that kind of jumped at the chance to do something more mainstream, I think that they were always hoping somewhere in the back of their mind that somebody would offer something like that to them. And that although they enjoyed making, like Sam Raimi enjoyed making The Evil Dead, Peter Jackson enjoyed making Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, all that stuff. But then Peter Jackson went on to Lord of the Rings after that. So I just don't think that Frank Henenlotter's in that same group of filmmakers that started out low budget that even has an interest in doing anything other than what he's been doing for the past several years. And I could be wrong, but that's just how I perceive Frank Henenlotter. Johnny said, my wife saw Basket Case on the table recently when I got it and was like, what's that one about? Because she don't give a F about horror. I was like, never mind. Too hard to explain. Yeah, I mean, it's really, I'm sure your wife's a very nice person, John, but for people that aren't into that stuff the way we are, it's very hard to describe something like that to them. And even if you try, you're going to get these weird looks like you walked in with your head on sideways, because that's just not their thing. They might be like a fair weather horror fan or an average horror fan, but it takes a really tried and true, dyed in the wool horror fan to enjoy things like Basket Case. Your average fan's not going to enjoy that. Chris V, you say, I love that Frankenhooker is pretty much Henenlotter's take on the brain that wouldn't die. Exactly. Um, John, you say she knows some, but what you're saying yeah, you say it's not her thing. She just laughs. Yeah, and my dad was a lot like that too. I mean, he watched things like Jaws. He and I have, I have fond memories of watching Jaws every time it was on television with my dad. Um, One time when the electricity was out the house for a few hours, when I was still living at home with my mom and dad, um, I had a portable DVD player that was charged up, and I put in Happy Hell Night. And Dad sat there and watched Happy Hell Night with me. Dawn of the Dead, we sat down and watched together, and Dad enjoyed it. Uh, but he said at the very end, well, that was stupid. you know, Phantasm. He said that movie doesn't make sense to him, but he finds it entertaining and he would watch it with me. So there were several movies like that my dad's not so much of a huge horror fan like I am. I take more after my mom than anything. And mom's not even the biggest horror fan anymore. Abderrahim's in here again with his writing that I can't decipher. Um, but I'll talk a little bit about the special features that are on this Synapse Films release of Frankenhooker, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next one I'm going to talk about. John, you said most people you can get them into Stranger Things, but that's about as far usually. It's made horror more mainstream to normal folks. Yeah, and then it's a nostalgia thing for those of us that, grew up in the 80s and remember a lot of this stuff, and it takes us back. Plus, it's a really great show as well. Although this last season, that last episode in the season just that blew my freaking mind. And I'm not going to go into it in case there's still some of you that haven't finished it up. But the special features on this, you get audio commentary with director Frank Henenlotter and makeup effects designer Gay Bartalos, a salad that was once named Elizabeth, Patty Mullen featurette, a Stitch in Time, the makeup effects of Frankenhooker featurette, Turning Tricks, Jennifer Deloria Remembers Frankenhooker featurette, Jennifer Deloria's Frankenhooker photo scrapbook featurette, and a theatrical trailer. Not like just chock full of special features, but it does have some pretty good ones on there. And what other film has a tagline, a terrifying tale of sluts and bolts? I mean, there's Frank Henenlotter's wry sense of humor rearing its head again. And I love that. And I would highly recommend Frankenhooker, especially if you've never seen it. Maybe if you've seen Basket Case and Brain Damage and the other films, give this one a try. If it's been a while since you've had this out and watched it, I urge you to pull that sucker back off the shelf and watch it again. I was trying to see. It's only 85 minutes, so it's not really super, super long. So, Craig, you say, I always try and get a girlfriend that likes horror movies. I had a girlfriend that watched Night of the Demons with me, her first horror movie, and she loved it. See, I think that getting someone into horror or getting them to like a horror movie that we like too, I think that makes, and this might sound hokey, but I think it makes people become closer. Whether you're just friends or your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband and wife, whatever. I think having a love horror movies, or getting someone to love horror movies that you love, um, strengthens a relationship in ways that I don't think other types of genre films can do. And you may say, "Oh, now you're full of shit," but you just look at the extreme camaraderie at horror conventions. Um, I don't think you would see that if it was a Lifetime Movie Network convention or something like that. You just don't see it. It's like you might not see certain people any other time but conventions. But when you see them at the convention, you pick up right where you left off. And so I just feel like horror is something that, as weird as it may sound, it brings people together in a way other film genres cannot. And I think one of the reasons is because it's just so much fun. They're just so fun. Darren, you say she's a keep. I almost said creeper. She's a keeper then, Craig. Oh, definitely. Um, John, you say, Craig, get her to watch The Bye Bye Man. If she can sit through that piece of shit, she's a keeper for sure. So, uh, John, I'm taking it that The Bye Bye Man didn't curl your toenails then, huh? You're not wild about it like old Curly Jaws is. Uh, so, y'all can feel free to keep chatting about Frankenhooker or, or anything else in the chat. I am going to move on to the next film, which is a film I don't know how many of you guys have seen, or if you watched it uh, in between times, like when I announced that I was going to do this one for this week. If you managed to find a copy on Tubi or YouTube or whatever, I was able to watch it, because I know somebody was saying there were two versions of it. One version was pretty decent, the other looked pretty shitty. Um, but I picked up the Code Red Blu-ray recently, which the transfer is not too bad on it. I rewatched this again recently. Um, Not that I really need to brush up on it, but I love this film so much that I thought, what the hey, I'll watch it in anticipation of this live stream. Um, Guys, I Brandon has walked back here, so I'm going to put the lovely Evil Dead background up for you guys, and I'm going to tend to him real quick, and I will be right back. Sorry, guys, I'm back. Hopefully, I won't have to go away again. I had to give Brandon his sleep pill. Hopefully, it'll work tonight. Last night, he was up almost all night, which was not a good thing because it didn't allow me to get much sleep. Anyway, let's see if I missed anything while I was. Craigie said that was 15 years ago. We're still friends though. She always calls me when she watches a horror movie and asks me if I've seen it. Well, that's good that you guys are still friends after all this time. Johnny say it's horrible, 1 out of 10. Whoa. Well, I guess you could have went a little bit lower, gave it 0 out of 10. Craigie said I definitely will. Okay, so moving on to Hide and Go Shriek. My light stayed on a little bit longer. I think I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna turn on the Evil Dead background. Just change out that light real quick. But anyway, back to Hide and Go Shriek. How many of you guys in the chat have actually seen this little gem? And I'm laughing because this is another one that Steve says he never, ever, ever wants to watch again. He did a commentary with me on it, and I think that's the very last time he ever wanted to see that movie. But I was trying to remember if Darren had seen it or not. I can't remember. John, you say, sold my Return of the Living Dead Blu-ray in hopes of the 4K in the fall. I don't know about y'all, but I'll need to sell a kidney for all these fall release 4K. Me too, John. And with me being diabetic, I don't know if I should sell one of my kidneys or not. Okay, Darren, you said this is a cool, fun little slasher. I enjoy it. Yeah, I wish Steve enjoyed it more, but I can't, I can't make him like it or. But this is one that I remember back from my video rental days. That's the very first time I saw it, and I loved it then. For me, it was like discovering Evil Laugh, which I believe Evil Laugh I rented too. And who could forget that cover art for Evil Laugh? I would love to see Evil Laugh out on Blu-ray. I need to actually go back and cover that one for Cheese Extreme Wednesday. But I only have a DVD of it, so I'd have to pull that out, and I may do that at some point when we get through the Blu-rays. But yeah, I would love to see Evil Laugh have a Blu-ray release. I mean, we got Hide and Go Shriek, we got Happy Hell Night, we got all those. So I wish somebody could put Evil Laugh out. But so John, you've never seen Hide and Go Shriek? Well, I think it's one of the, like Darren said, it is a cool, fun little slasher. So I would highly recommend it. So this one might not be as well known. So let me give a little bit of a plot breakdown from the back of the Blu-ray. A group of teens decides to spend a night at a furniture store owned by the father of one of their members. Joining them for the ill-fated overnight adventure is a homeless ex-con security guard, isolated and trapped. They're all soon stopped by someone with a taste for cross-dressing, who breaks in and begins to pick them off during a game of hide and seek. It's the ultimate game of death, hide and go shriek. Now watch this slasher classic from a brand new HD master. Now, the only question I had about this movie is, why would teenagers who've just graduated high school, and some are probably getting ready to either get married or go to college or get a job, why would they be playing hide and go seek? I think I stopped playing hide and go seek, golly, when I was quite young. I definitely didn't play it when I was in high school, and definitely didn't play it after high school. So I'm not sure why that came up, other than they had the title Hide and Go Shriek, and it would make sense to do that. But that was the only thing I didn't understand about the movie, and that was just a small thing, really. And it was a way, it was kind of a clever way to separate the different couples in this movie, so it would make it easier to kill some of them off. So I understand why it was designed that way. It's just, in reality, I couldn't see teenagers that old playing hide and go seek. Johnny says, Severn put out a Caligula box set. I would say anything deserves a Blu-ray over that crap. Well, there's so many things that have come out on Blu-ray. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be covering Horror House on Highway 5 next Wednesday, along with Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. And, you know, when you got things like Horror House on Highway 5 on Blu-ray, you've got Microwave Massacre on Blu-ray, Demented on Blu-ray. I mean, come on. If you can do that, then surely you can put some of these other things on Blu-ray. But anyway, somebody that is in this movie that shows up in another genre film a few years later is Britton Fry, who you will see with the shirt off there and the necklace. He actually showed up in Slumber Party Massacre 3. I don't know how many of you guys have seen that one, but he plays a totally different role in that one than he does in this. I really like his character better in Hide and Go Shriek than I do on Slumber Party Massacre 3, to be honest. But that is the only two films that I am familiar with Britton Fry in. And, like, I think when Steve and I did the commentary for it, Steve said I knew way too much about this movie because I was just coming off with all this stuff. Now, the blonde there that's screaming and got the blue top on, she was with Bob Seger, I believe at the time. I think she was dating Bob Seger, and he came to visit her on the set of this movie, and there were several scenes where Britton Fry's character, who plays her boyfriend in the movie, was having to squeeze her ass and different things like that. And here her boyfriend, Bob Seger, is on the set. And, like, can you just imagine how intimidating that would be, and how probably uncomfortable it was for Bob Seger, for his girlfriend, and even for Britton Fry, having to do this stuff within this film, and, like, this guy is watching, like, why, probably thinking, why are you grabbing my girl's ass, you know? Danny said there's quite a few 80s slashers with a similar storyline. The Initiation comes to mind. Also, didn't Slumber Party Massacre 3 have something similar? Yeah, possibly Darren, and like I said, Britton Fry's in both movies. He's in Slumber Party Massacre 3 and this one as well. Um, and Initiation, yeah, the Initiation's great. That's another one that I like. But the Initiation was one that I ended up watching later on. That wasn't one that I remember watching in my heavy rotation videos in my video rental days. John, you say, I don't want to offend anyone, but there's hardly any movie from Severn I could ever find to buy. Maybe The Changeling? I mean, they have their fans, so what do I know? Oh, no, you definitely don't offend anybody, John. I think, with these boutique labels especially, I think they kind of have a niche audience, so to speak, for a lot of this stuff. Um, and as you said, Severn put out a Caligula box set. Caligula is definitely not a movie that's for everyone. Uh, Salo or how you pronounce that is definitely not a movie that's for everybody. Many of the movies that are discussed in horror and exploitation circles are not going to be for everybody. They have their little niche groups that that like that kind of stuff. Um, Sorry, guys. I have a bad habit of when my phone dings, I kind of look at it. Okay. Um, so I, for one, definitely, John, I'm not offended by that statement because I completely understand it. Um, and I don't get a lot of things from Severn either, to be totally honest with you. You say Vinegar Syndrome is more of your thing, and I think I do get more Vinegar Syndrome titles than I do Severn. Every once in a blue moon, I'll get something from Severn. You said more movies I like, still a lot of nonsense shit, but some great films in there. Darren, you say, John, you see Night of the Demon or House on the Edge of the Park, two great ones. Uh, I definitely agree with House on the Edge of the Park. That's probably David Hess one of his in one of his most crazy roles. If that's possible, if you can say that. Um, John, you say Night of the Demon was fun. House on the Edge of the Park, I wasn't a fan, but it was well shot. Yeah, I think House on the Edge of the Park is a little rough for some people. I'm not saying that's why that you weren't a fan, John, but I do think people consider that a very rough film. Um, I've often commented to Steve when we watched House on the Edge of the Park, even though I liked the film, that in the context of things, I really can't understand. Um, I really can't understand why those people would go that far and allow themselves to be almost killed, or these women to almost be raped by David Hess, especially, just to get revenge on, ultimately to get revenge. If it was me, I'd want to move along pretty quickly to get to the revenge instead of dragging it out. But then, of course, there wouldn't have been any movie. Um, oh, Curly Jaws, hey, you say, I'm excited for the Incredible Melting Man getting a new release. And hello, everyone. Hey, Dana. Um, Oh, Curly Jaws, you say Night of the Demon remake was better in my opinion. Well, there's that generation thing on Curly Jaws. I've come to believe that it is the generation that you grow up in. Like the generation that a lot of us in the chat, and I'm not trying to leave you out, oh Curly Jaws, but the majority of us grew up in the 80s. Some of us maybe the 70s. You know, Steve's like the 70s generation pretty much. And then he graduated in like the late 80s, you know. But for the majority of us, we our growing up phase was in the 80s. And so it's a whole different ball of wax for old curly jaws and those in his generation. And guys, I was really hoping I wouldn't have to get up, but um, my stomach is really bothering me all of a sudden. So um, I don't think I'm going to get sick at my stomach, but it's just not feeling quite right. So I will be right back, okay? Oh, Curly Jaws, you say Steve is the 40s. Well, the way he acts sometimes, you would swear he grew up in the 40s because he thinks he's about ready for the old folks' home. That's how he acts sometimes. But I worry about him, I honestly do. I try to make light of it and make jokes about it, but really, I worry about how tired he is all the time. And I tell him I think he needs to tell the doctor about it, but of course he won't. You know how men are, don't you guys? John, you say, yeah, I don't like the rape revenge genre. About as far as I go as Hills Have Eyes. Yeah, I think, I don't want to say it takes a special kind of person because that's not the term I want to use, but there's only certain people I feel like that can watch those and well, I mean, the subject matter is repulsive. It is very hard to watch. And with things like I Spit on Your Grave, where you've got like approximately 20 or so minutes of rape, solid rape, um, that is just grueling. Um, but as I've said before about rape revenge movies, I think you have to have that, or the revenge would seem to not make sense. Um, because it would be like, okay, that why are they being, so vicious in their revenge? And we know that because we've seen what happened to them because of the vicious rape, that brutal rape, the rape that seemed to go on forever. Um, and I just think that, and I also think that with I Spit on Your Grave, and Mayor Zarki has said this, the director, he said that he saw a woman that had just been raped, and she came out of the woods, or came out of a park area or something, and she looked and acted pretty much how Camille Keaton's character of Jennifer does in I Spit on Your Grave after she's brutally gang raped. And then when you think that she's gotten away from them and gotten back to her house, no, it's not over yet. There's still more that's going to go on. Um, so, I mean, they almost seem to go over the edge and over the line in so many ways. But I think for that particular subgenre, that it's important that they show that. And some of you guys may disagree with me, but I think it's important that they show that because the revenge is equally as extreme, because what was done to these women was so extreme, they're certainly going to retaliate in an extreme way. Because that would be the only way that some women would be able to deal with that. Otherwise, they would just withdraw up into a ball, into a fetal position, and be carted off to the funny farm. So I hope everybody understands what I'm saying. I don't glorify this subgenre, and they're not the types of films that I like to watch on a daily basis. I just, pick and choose when I want to watch them. Like, I haven't watched Last House on the Left in a while. I haven't watched House on the Edge of the Park in a while. I Spit on Your Grave, I watched a little more recently because I got that new set in. Johnny said, Night of the Demon is absolutely worth a watch and even a buy if cheap enough. I can't say I liked it or didn't like it. But I'm glad spirits are viewing at the dick demon. Johnny said, yeah, the only movie I just can't watch is Cannibal Holocaust. Everything I know about that director and behind the scenes, I know it's not that bad as others, but I just prefer to never see it. Um, John, I could see that because Cannibal Holocaust is another one that's very, very hard to watch. And it's hard to internalize. And I'm not really so sure that you should internalize it. And I've talked about Cannibal Holocaust multiple times. And the thing that always bothered me about that movie is there really weren't any good people in that movie. I'm talking about like the core group. These people that are supposed to go out and be filming the cannibals, and it turns out they're more reprehensible than any real cannibal could ever be, because they stage these things and really burn these natives' houses up. They torture them. They do horrible, horrible things to them within the film. So when they get their comeuppance at the end of the film, I feel like it's totally justified. But the film is not an easy one to watch. Not at all. In some ways, Cannibal Ferox, minus the animal violence, which is something I don't like in any of the films, don't feel it's necessary to have real animal violence in films. If you can fake human deaths, then you can fake animal deaths, or heck, you don't even have to show them. I don't think it's an essential plot point in any of these movies. It doesn't make one iota difference. But the thing about Cannibal Holocaust, like I said, the characters that essentially you're supposed to feel sorry when they're dismembered and killed on camera, you don't feel sorry for them because you've seen the awful things that they've done prior to the native people getting their revenge. Darren, you say that bath scene in I Spit is pretty much unwatchable. Every man must wince when that scene comes on. I do watch and enjoy a lot of the rape revenge films. Well, Darren, I'll tell you, I think I've said this before, but Steve refuses. He refuses to watch I Spit on Your Grave with me. I think maybe he's watched it one, maybe two times. I think we did a commentary for it one time. John, you say, I know that's silly as hell. It's just a movie. No, I totally get that. There are some things, certain movies that really bother me, and I find them nearly too disturbing to watch. So I really do get that. Well, she say Uncle Bill rubs on his dick demon every night. Yeah, well, really, that's something that I don't want to know about, actually. Dare you say Cannibal Holocaust is in my top 5 films of all time. It's such a well-made film, and because of the animal violence, it doesn't get the credit it's due. Yeah, I think that more people would probably consider watching it, Darren, if that wasn't in there. But now, with the advent of like being able to digitally edit films, they do have a animal cruelty-free version that you can watch. I mean, like you say, I don't like animal violence either. No, I really honestly don't think it has any place in any movie, not just horror movies, in any movie, because it's not needed. It's not necessary. Wes, you say Garrett has to watch Ebola Syndrome with us sometime. I bet he'll cry. I watched Ebola Syndrome with Steve. That movie was, man, it was out there. Darren, you say, I don't agree with the animal violence, but it really is the only way to get the full experience. And I get that too. I just, my thing is, I just wish it had never been put in there, period. Then us completists, and I know how it feels to be a completist. You, even though it's something as reprehensible as real animal violence, if you don't watch the whole thing, you will feel like you're missing something. So I totally get that as well. Johnny said the animal stuff is bad, but when I saw on the Shutter doc about the native girl acting and not knowing if it was real or not in the rape scene, I was confused by what they were insinuating there. Yeah, I don't think I've seen all of that Shutter documentary. I need to watch it though. I was thinking Steve was watching it at one time. Johnny said, maybe I read too much into that. It just seemed like they were tiptoeing around shady shit. Well, I mean, I'm sure there was some shady shit going on. I mean, look at the animal violence. PETA would have been all over that if it had been in the United States. But because they're out in the jungles, God knows where, they could do whatever they wanted. So definitely, it's possible that all kinds of shady shit was going on. Men like you say, I don't like any cheap shock value violence that reeks of laziness and tone deafness. I definitely get the laziness part, yeah, because you could come up with a lot more creative ways to film something without putting that stuff in there. And I don't want to seem like I'm wimping out. Darren's probably thinking, "Oh, Dana's wimping out here," but no, I can see it from all different sides. I really can. I'm going to go back and talk a little bit more about Hide and Go Shriek. But you guys feel free to put whatever in there. I like I mean, we got off on a totally different conversation, but it's great. That's why I love these live streams. But this film is, for the most part, very dark. You don't see any, like, I wouldn't say there's really any super gory scenes. A guy gets speared on some kind of, looks like some kind of artwork or something. But again, you don't see a lot of the blood. Probably the goriest part is when this girl gets beheaded because the killer has strapped her on top of the elevator, and she gets loose. He has her all taped up there. She gets loose and untied and all that stuff. And she hangs her head and part of her body over the side of the elevator. Some of the other kids are in the elevator and they see her and they're trying to help her and stuff. And all of a sudden, the elevator goes as far as it can go and cuts off her head, and her head comes falling down. That's probably the bloodiest scene in the movie, and it was actually cut from the original release of it. But you do get this bonus unrated scene cut from the R-rated print, but it's not really good quality. But you can still see what it is and everything. What did she say? Did you guys watch the Faces or Traces of Death tapes back in the day? They were like dares when we were kids. I watched the Faces of Death stuff, but I'll tell you one thing. Nothing disturbed me like Traces of Death. Faces of Death was one of those things that, yeah, you would pretty much, I dare you to watch it. Now, the first Traces of Death I ever saw, and Wes may be able to give me more information. I'm not sure if there were multiple Traces of Death, but the one I saw had actual footage of, oh gosh, I'm totally forgetting his name. I hate that when I do that. They made a documentary about this guy. Hold on, guys. You guys may remember it before I. Okay. Bud Dwyer. That was the guy that he was a. Yep, Wes had it. Bud Dwyer. So this showed the actual Bud Dwyer footage. And he literally puts a gun in his mouth and shoots himself in front of a bunch of journalists, cameramen from the news. And the reason why was he was a politician, I guess would be the best way to describe him. And he got embroiled in, I don't know if he necessarily got embroiled in a scandal, but people were saying that he was part of a scandal, that he was taking money under the table and all of that. And so he became suicidal over that and just couldn't take it anymore. They were wanting him to step down from his position, and he just felt like the whole thing had shamed him, had shamed his family, and he became very depressed and couldn't deal with it. Now, not everybody that becomes depressed kills themselves on national TV, but it has happened at least a couple of times. Christine Chubbick was another person that shot herself, killed herself on television. She was an actual newswoman. And I have a movie about her that came out in the last few years or so. But the Bud Dwyer thing was something that I can't even believe that was allowed to. I know it showed up live on TV, but the thing is, where in the hell did these people get? I mean, did they pay somebody to get the footage or what? But as Wes said, that fucked you up as a kid. Like, did the Bud Dwyer stuff fuck you up as a kid? Because that fucked me up. And I didn't even go. See, I was watching it. And you see Bud Dwyer handing out these envelopes. And for those of you that haven't seen this footage, I urge you to watch the documentary on Bud Dwyer, because it doesn't really focus so much on him killing himself as it does his life and his early days of marriage to his wife, how he interacted with his kids, all of that. And again, it focuses very little on the actual suicide, but so I didn't know anything about Bud Dwyer or who he was, what went on with this guy when I saw this Traces of Death. I just thought it was going to be like Faces of Death. I put it in and started watching it, and it got to this part. You're seeing this guy hand out these envelopes to people, and then he has one big envelope, and all of a sudden he pulls a gun out of it, and he's kind of like half pointing it, and people are like, thinking he's going to shoot them. And he's like, stay back, I don't want to hurt anybody. And then he puts the gun in his mouth and blows the back of his head off. And you see him slumped over with blood coming out of his mouth. I swear to you guys, I've never seen anything so horrifying in my life, because I was like, this looks real. And that was because it was real. That was actual footage. And so I stopped the tape. I took it out. I just couldn't deal with it. And so I totally get what Wes was saying about those things. Let me go back up here. Let's see. Oh, Darren, you were saying, no, Dan, I totally get your point. Yeah, when we were talking about the animal violence. Johnny said, it's almost like they don't want to say what actually happened. Maybe nothing did, but it was strange. Oh, I agree. That was strange. Johnny say, I remember them, CK, but never did. I was definitely curious as a kid. Darren, you're right. The traces of death is a totally different level. Real death doesn't interest me at all, but there's sickos out there who love it. LOL. Yeah, and there are some people that would get great enjoyment out of watching Bud Dwyer uh, commit suicide on camera. But that is how shocked I literally was. I stopped the tape, took it out, never put it back in, and never finished watching it. And I was disturbed for the rest of the day because of that. Um, Very, very disturbing. So when I found out the real story behind Bud Dwyer, I was like, no wonder that disturbed me so much. It's because I'm normal. You know, abnormal people would have been, yeah, give me more of that. Um, well, she said there was a whole series of them sex change one. Yeah, there was like a time when that was like a big thing, and like, um, I'm sure you guys have heard Steve talk about "Let Me Die, a Woman." Steve showed me that, and like, I don't think it bothered me nearly as much as it bothered him. And he had already seen it before when we watched it together, so I'm surprised that he even would sit down and watch it again, because they show the slicing of the penis and turn it into a vagina, and it's like you can just feel, you don't even have to watch the guys, you can just sense them crossing their legs at that scene, just like the way the "I Spit on Your Grave" bathtub scene would make many men feel that way, if not all men. um, John, you say, oh shit, Bud Dwyer. Yeah, I've seen that video. Yeah, that video is all over the place. At one time, it was all over YouTube. It may still be. Now, the Christine Chubbick stuff, you can't really find that. I mean, somebody's done a good job. Her family or somebody has done a good job of hiding that stuff. It was said that the guy that ran the news station that she worked for um, had that in his possession, and then when he died, his wife had it in her possession, and I'm sure she's passed away now, and so I don't know who has it. It could be destroyed. Some people said maybe her brother or somebody had it. Um, but they're not going to let it get out, because the Bud Dwyer stuff, like I said, that stuff was everywhere. Um, all you got to do probably is go punch in Bud Dwyer on YouTube, or just do a Google search, and you can find some information. Uh, Darren, you say, I did see that snuff tape Luca Magnotta made when he killed that Chinese man. Wish I never saw it, as it scarred me for a while. Yeah, I mean, I still get chills when I think about the first time I saw the Bud Dwyer stuff. I mean, it messed me up for the whole day, and there's no enjoyment out of that. And I would never dare somebody to watch something like that knowing what was on it. The Faces of Death, there were a few things that were real on those, but it has come out since then that the majority of that stuff was faked. The monkey scene was faked, and there were several other scenes that were faked. But Traces of Death, like you guys said, that is on a whole other level. Um, yeah, well, as he was trying to calm people down, and he pulled out the gun and then just quickly shot himself. It was, oh, it just gives me chills now thinking about it. It really does. And at that point, I stopped watching any of that stuff for a long while, even Faces of Death stuff. I was like, and I rented this thing, guys. I went to the video store and rented Traces of Death, and that may be where West was experienced it too. And I'm not for censorship or anything, but I had to wonder, did the video store actually really know what they were renting out with this? Because this was not like Faces of Death. Um, yeah, blood did, an enormous amount of blood poured out of his face like a faucet. Yeah, and that's not, and I don't think Wes, and I know I'm not, are saying that to be funny. It literally did pour out like a faucet. Um, Very disturbing. And the other guy was trying to get people out of there. He was asking these news people to leave, please exit out the back doors, and meanwhile you could still see poor Bud Dwyer back there, blood just continuing to come out of his face. I mean, never ever in my life have I ever seen anything like that, and I don't wish to see anything like that again. Um, Daring you say, make me die a woman? That's not for me. Yeah, exactly. Uh, well, she said they released Traces of Death on DVD. I think the box said. Well, I don't think I'll be buying that. Um, John, you say Cinestalker reviews that stuff some. He's buds with Wet Movie. He always looks white as a sheet when he reviews them. Huh, not for me. I'm a pansy. No, you're not a pansy, John. You're just sensitive to that kind of stuff. I mean, who wouldn't be? That's normal. Who wouldn't be sensitive to it? John, you said the death footage stuff like cartels, etc. And Aaron, you say, I've heard the cartel videos are the worst. I'll never watch them. You know, back when I worked for the library in Hancock County back home, we had, and this is kind of disturbing too, the people that were asking for this stuff. Um, there were people from this home. I mean, it was like it was almost like a mental hospital slash sex offender place, and the place started out as a nursing home. And normal nursing homes are not like this. And then over time, and keep in mind, I'm from a very small town. Over time, this place was run by some less than, I mean, they were very shady people that ran this place. And they didn't keep watch on the residents or anything. So slowly over time, it turned into more of, like I said, a mental hospital slash sex offender halfway house, because there were so many sex offenders there. And then before that, they had people with very severe mental problems. When my aunt worked there, um, she was a, it's more this didn't mess my aunt up. My aunt's a very nervous person anyway, but she's very sweet and nice and would do anything for you. But she started working for this place when she was about 16 years old. And at 16 years old, they had her giving old men baths, which she should have never been doing at 16 years old. But she did it because they told her it was her job and they had her doing it. But she worked there for many, many years. But then over time, they had a guy that was schizophrenic there. He heard voices, and she was working in the kitchen at the time. She was a nurse's aide when she had to give the old men baths. And so she was working in the kitchen at this point in time. And the schizophrenic guy came up to her and another lady that was working in the kitchen. And he said something like, the voices were saying that somebody was going to kill him. And the other lady that was working with my aunt said, yeah, to him. And because he asked her, he said, are they going to kill me? Because, I mean, he was literally scared. He's schizophrenic. He's hearing voices saying that somebody's going to kill him. And she wasn't really listening to what he said. And she just said, yeah. And so he's like, they are going to kill me? So he got a fork or a knife or something and was going to stab this lady. And my aunt grabbed the fork out of his hand. But they should have never been put in that position of working around people that were severely mentally ill. These people needed to be in a restricted area. They didn't need to be running, they definitely didn't need to be running the streets of Lewisport, which by the time that I was older, they had a lot of sex offenders in there, and they let the sex offenders leave anytime they wanted to. These are guys that have been accused of raping little girls and, raping young women, and they were letting them run the streets of Lewisport doing God knows what. And they didn't even know when they left. They were supposed to sign out when they left, and they didn't. And then the lazy ass guy that was supposed to come and get them in the van and take them back would wait hours. We had other people come into the library that were so drugged out of their mind that they were almost falling out of their chairs at the computers, and I would have to go over and ask them if they were okay. One guy said he wasn't feeling very well, and so I called the home and asked them if somebody could come get him because he wasn't feeling well. It took them 2 hours, I kid you not, to come get the poor man. So, what I'm getting to essentially is we had a lot of those people that like things like red pavement, which I don't know how many of you guys have seen red pavement, but they were always looking for that on YouTube or asking if I could get videos of it on Interlibrary Loan. And honestly, I had never heard of that till they started mentioning it. But they would also mention Faces of Death and things like that. But the red pavement was basically car accidents, like horrible car accidents where people had gotten mangled and killed in car accidents. And they found enjoyment in watching these, and that just really, really disturbed me. But that was a long story to get to the part about the stuff that was similar to like Faces of Death, Traces of Death, all of that. Darren, you say we love horror films because they're not real. The real stuff is for the psychopaths. Exactly. Yeah, it's for people that aren't right in the head. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about Hide and Go Shriek. We've had a really good conversation about all different kinds of things tonight, even a few disturbing things, but that's okay. Um, Darren, you say it takes a certain mentality to work in a mental home. You have to be mentally strong to be able to switch off at the end of the day. Yeah, that is why I could not work in a place like that. Because I wouldn't be able to turn it off. It would be so disturbing to me to have to deal with that day in and day out. Now, some people are scared to be around people that are mentally retarded. And I'm not saying retarded to be offensive. Because I have someone in my family, my Aunt Sandy's twin sister is severely retarded. And my own family members say retarded. So we don't go around saying retard and laughing about it, but we do say mentally retarded. She is a grown woman with the mind of like a 2-year-old. Okay? So just imagine that. If a 2-year-old throws a fit, it's going to be a minor inconvenience. A grown woman throws a 2-year-old tantrum, you're going to have a lot more problems to deal with. Over time, we went several times to see Cindy in the home she was in Somerset. Now she lives in a cottage with other residents. She no longer has to live at Oakwood. And they have a caretaker that takes care of her and the other residents in this house or apartment or whatever you want to call it. I think it's a house. But there were several times growing up that we went to see her in Somerset when she was at Oakwood. And there were a lot of other, residents there that had varying degrees of the same kind of retardation that Cindy did and does. Um, so one day we went to visit her, and they took us to a little room and they brought Cindy in so that she could visit with us for, as long as her attention span, bless her heart, would be. And while either Cindy was in there or we were waiting for a worker to bring her in, another older woman who I don't know what all of her problems were. She evidently had something wrong where she walked with her head tilted to the side. And I felt so sorry for this woman, but my mom was scared of her and afraid that she was going to hurt somebody. My hair was very long at the time, and I had it down. And when this woman came into the room, she looked at me, and I must have looked like her child. Maybe a child that was taken away from her, and she clearly thought I was her child. She came over to me and she wanted to stroke my hair, and she said, "My baby, my baby." And I thought, okay, this is soothing her. She's not hurting me. I will just let her do it. But mom and my granny and stuff got kind of concerned, and they came over and tried to get the woman away from me. And the woman wasn't having any of it. She literally balled her hands up in the fist. She was going to fight them over it. Then one of the workers noticed that she was in there, and they came and took her away. And as they were taking her away, she was screaming, "My baby, my baby." And it just made me want to cry. It just made me really sad. And my mom's like, "Weren't you scared, Dana?" I said, "No." Because I knew she wasn't going to hurt me. She thought I was somebody that she loved, so why would she hurt me? So then there were others in there that we would bring things for Cindy, toys and different things. And some of the other residents would grab a hold of you thinking you were their family, try to pull the toys away from you and take them, different things. And it always made my mom really nervous. But that never did really bother me. But a mental hospital to me would be a whole different experience, and not really one that I'm interested in. I know somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to take care of these poor souls. And I just know that I'm not the one to do that. Johnny say, "Yeah, shit, that's rough. I feel like it ruins my day just reading about true crime stuff." Sometimes I feel like that too, John. Some days I'm like, nah, not today. Not going to read that true crime stuff. Yeah, John, you say true crime is like something you dig into for a few days and dig right out. You can't watch it long term or it'll make you depressed as hell. You are right on that. And Darren, you agree. You say, "Very true, John. I like my true crime, but it's not something to watch every day." But to get finished up with Hide and Go Shriek, I really, guys, I have loved this conversation a lot. But I did want to talk a little bit about this movie. So they're playing Hide and Go Shriek in the furniture store owned by one of the guy's dads. And meanwhile, there's somebody that's like cross-dressing and stuff. He kills somebody and then takes the person's clothes, and this includes negligees or, jeans and a shirt or whatever he can glean from the person that he's killed. Until there's just basically 4 people left, which I think that is a large amount of people to have left at the end of a horror movie, because usually you have a final girl or maybe in some cases a final guy. This time you have 4, 2 final girls and 2 final boys, I guess. Um, and if you have not seen this, you might want to plug your ears for a little bit, because I'm going to explain who and why, who the killer is and why they are doing this. So I'll give you a chance to plug your ears, and then in a few seconds I'm going to start talking about this. So plug your ears, guys, if you have not seen this movie. Okay. So the killer turns out to be, remember how I said there's a guy that's an ex-con that he's homeless, and so, hey, Dirk, he's homeless, so the one boy's dad is letting him live in the furniture store. He like lives in the basement or whatever, and he's an ex-con. So the killer turns out to be his lover in prison, because as we all know, a lot of guys turn homosexual while they're in prison because there's no ladies in there. So he had a man friend named Zach when they were in prison. But when the one guy got out of prison, he went back to the way he was prior to prison. He went straight again. But Zach wasn't ready to let this guy go. And so he's so off in the head that he thinks that these people in the daggone furniture store are going to keep them apart. So he thinks he's got to kill them off. So in his demented mind, he thinks he's doing this for him and his lover. So at the end, you think Zach is dead. But this is literally one of the creepiest final scenes in a horror movie that I can remember. No matter how cheesy a lot of other things in this movie are, this final scene is creepy as hell, because Zach ends up doing the thing that a lot of killers have done in other horror films. He's killed the ambulance driver, and guess what? He's taken the ambulance driver's place. How many times have we seen that done, guys? But very few times have we had this final shot where he pretty much breaks that fourth wall, and he's looking right at you guys. He's looking right at the audience. And he gives one of the creepiest cinematic smiles I've ever seen in any horror movie. And it just gives me chills every time I see it. Because he's still got the makeup on. Because he puts makeup on like he's a woman. So, to talk a little bit about the cheesy stuff. Probably one of the cheesiest characters in this whole movie is the character played by Bunkie Jones. Now, Bunkie Jones has been in other movies, and she's been described as literally like hippie-like. In this movie, she seems kind of like a hot to trot. I mean, she's loyal to her boyfriend. It's not like she's sleeping around, but she dresses in skimpy skirts and little shirts that show her midriff, and doesn't wear a bra. And as Steve so eloquently put it, I love her side boob, because every time she reaches up like this, he said you could see under boobage or side boob or whatever. And of course, guys are gonna like that. But some of the looks she gives in this movie, I can't even appropriately show them on this video because I wouldn't get it right. I just would have to ask that you watch this movie. I believe it's on Tubi. I'm pretty sure you can still find it on YouTube. So I urge you to watch Bunkie. in this movie, and some of the looks she has, it is laugh out loud funny. Um, she's probably, in my opinion, the worst actor in this movie. The others pretty well pull it off. Um, and I believe the actor's name is Sean Kanan, who plays Bunkie's boyfriend. He was on General Hospital for a while, way back, probably in the 80s, playing one of the young Quartermain boys, I believe. So if he looks familiar, that's probably why. Um, and like I said, Britton Fry's been in at least one other horror movie. Donna Bouchron, the cute little brunette in this movie who does the sexy porn slash striptease dance for her boyfriend, would be very memorable for you guys. I trust that it would be very memorable for you. I'm not sure. I probably could look for you guys because it's been a little while since I looked up the stuff that these people were in. So let's just look that up here. Let's see. Bunkie Jones plays Bonnie Williams. She was the one that I said was the worst actress. She was actually in The Kindred as Nell Valentine. She was on the Hotel TV series playing Sally. She was in Dynasty. She was in like 4 episodes of Dynasty playing different characters. She was in Frankenstein General Hospital as Elizabeth Rice. And her name on that was Bunkie Jones. Grotesque, she played Belle in Grotesque from 1988. So she was in 3 different films in 1988. Frankenstein General Hospital, Grotesque, and Hide and Go Shriek. So that's about all she was in. And she died at an early age. She was only 49. She died October 3rd, 2015. I'm not really sure what happened to her. It could have been cancer. It could have been a lot of things. And Brandon just knocked over my new light. I hope he didn't break it, which he might have messed up my tripod. Brandon, why'd you do that, buddy? I think he did mess up my tripod, because he messed the other one up. Thank you, Brandon, for messing that up, buddy. I'll have to try to fix that later. Sorry about that, you guys. That scared the shit out of me, though, when it fell over. But, yeah, let's look at... I had forgotten that she had passed away. Britton Fry, of course, he's an actor and an art director, actually. And he was art director for a video called Line Dancing USA, which is, that seems crazy to me, from 1991. He was in an episode of Highway to Heaven, playing Bronco. He was on Less Than Zero. He was teenager number 2. He was Randy in Hide and Go Shriek. He was in several episodes of Santa Barbara as Bone Peterson. He was in Veiled Threat as Ken. He was on Dallas, one episode of Dallas, playing a character named Gary. He was in Slumber Party Massacre 3 as Ken, and In Search of a Woman but they didn't say who he played in 2004. Annette Sinclair, she was the one that was dating Bob Seger at the time of Hide and Go Shriek. She's been in quite a few things. She was in the Matt Houston TV series in 1983. For those of you that remember that, I don't. She played Marcia in an episode. She was on Weekend Pass playing Maxine. She was on Thief of Hearts playing College Girl number 1. Finder of Lost Loves, which was a TV series. She was on one episode of that. She played Kim Downs in Hide and Go Shriek. She was Miss Borland on Full House. On one episode of Full House. She was on Listen to Me as the Fountain Girl. She was on Instant Karma playing Amy. She was on Lunatics: A Love Story playing a blonde. She was on The Job as a soap actress mom. And on something called Red and Blue Marbles as a secretary. Actually, she was previously married to Bob Seger. So she may have been married to Bob Seger at the time. They have a pretty new picture of George Thomas in here. So he's been in, like, compared with everybody else, he's been on a ton of stuff. He was on Run If You Can. He played David Hansen on Hide and Go Shriek. He was on Sexual Intentions, which was a video playing Freddy. The Thrills TV series playing Cal. The Bounty Huntress playing Franco. A Watchful Eye, which was a video playing George. The Mummy's Kiss, he played Professor Carter Moore. The Las Vegas TV series, a lot of these TV series I've never heard of. Elvis number 1, The Last Eve, Bartender. Some of this stuff I'm just going to skim through here. He was on a TV movie called Webcam Cheerleaders playing Rob. Yeah, not a lot of the stuff he's been in have I heard of. But, and Donna Boutryn, who played David's sexy girlfriend, she is on, I think I actually had the movie Bikini Squad where she plays Muffy on that. She was on Miami Vice. She was in the movie Shallow Grave in 87. Bloodbath in Psychotown. Let's see. She was on that Dream On TV series, NYPD Blue. It's Pat the movie, playing stripper number 2. She was on Silk Stockings. Sybil, the TV series Sybil, the Norm TV series, and Black Scorpion TV series. But again, not a lot of this stuff is well known. Scott Fultz, he was the guy that Steve said he looked like he was 12 years old in this film. And he was supposed to be somebody that was graduating from high school. So, let's see if he was on anything. Well, he was on Quantum Leap. He was on Everybody's Baby, The Rescue of Jessica McClure. He was on Highway to Heaven, Saved by the Bell, 21 Jump Street. He was on the She-Wolf of London TV series, Beverly Hills 90210, Tales from the Crypt, Growing Pains, and Evening Shade. I promise I'm not going to go through all of these. Rhea Pavia, she was the one that played Well, she's been on several things too. In Hide and Go Shriek, she played Melissa Morgan. She was also in Growing Pains. She was on Married with Children, Freddy's Nightmares, Dream a Little Dream. She's Out of Control. The Tracy Ullman Show, Valerie, Who's the Boss. She was on several episodes of Santa Barbara, Herman's Head. She was on Son-in-Law, Roseanne and Tom Behind the Scenes TV movie, Can't Hurry Love, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, John Larroquette Show, Dharma and Greg. She was even on an episode of How I Met Your Mother. And Sean Kanan, as I said, I'm pretty sure he was on. He's been on other stuff too, but I'm pretty sure he was on General Hospital. He's also on The Young and the Restless. So he was on that werewolf TV series, The Karate Kid Part 3, playing Mike Barnes. He was on Who's the Boss, the Outsiders TV series, Revenge of the Nerds TV movie, Wild Palm, Step by Step. Let's see, he was on Walker, Texas Ranger. He was on Sunset Beach. He played Deacon Sharp on The Young and the Restless. He played A.J. Quartermain on the General Hospital soap opera from 1993 to 2014. He was also on The Bold and the Beautiful as well. So a lot of soap opera work for that guy. Some of the rest of these people weren't on too many things, but sorry for the reading of so much stuff. But I just wanted to give a little background on that. But let's see what. Dirk, he said, just wanted to pop in, can't stay, but we'll check this out on a rewatch. Cool. Anytime you can watch is great, Dirk. And I was glad to see you in here. You're probably not in here now, but if you watch this later, it was good to see you in here. Yes, Darren, I agree. That ending is definitely one of the more memorable for sure. John, you say it sounds like a fun watch. Oh, I feel like it definitely is. But before you break out your hard-earned money for it, I would suggest you watch it on YouTube or Tubi possibly. John, you say, I recommend Nightmare on the 13th Floor if you want a made-for-TV slasher. James Brolin is in it. It was a USA movie. It's on YouTube. I have heard of that one, but I don't know. I can't recall if I've ever seen it or not. You say it's about a hidden floor and an axe killer in a huge hotel. Darren, you jumped when my light fell as well. Yeah, it scared the shit out of me because I have it pushed so far over and it's not plugged. They're not plugged in now. I'm using batteries in them. That I didn't think that Brandon would get entangled in it and knock it down, but he must have got too close. But I'm really hoping he didn't break that tripod because those weren't the tripods that came with those lights. Those lights didn't come with any tripods, but I was using the old tripods I had, and now he's knocked them over so much that it might have messed that thing up where it won't stay slid out enough. So I may end up having to buy a couple of tripods for those lights. More sturdy tripods that won't fall over as easy. Darren, he said, did you get your Tenebrae 4K yet? Did Steve get the Jallo Essentials box set? My Tenebrae 4K is supposed to come in tomorrow. I'm not sure about, I'm pretty sure his Jallo Essentials box set hasn't come in yet, but I'm going to ask him about that. when he's awake. Of course, he's asleep right now. John, you say USA early 90s was awesome on made for TV movies. Buried Alive was great too. Oh, yeah, I always liked Buried Alive. Um, so it is a little after 10, guys, and I think I've covered about all I guess I need to cover on both of these films, but I highly recommend both of them. Hide and Go Shriek is probably the lesser well-known movie of the two, believe it or not. But I can see by the discussion that some of you have seen it. And now I'm happy that some of you say that you're gonna watch it. But like I said, don't don't plunk down your hard-earned money until you're sure that you would consider watching it multiple times to get your money's worth. And again, I want to remind you that next Wednesday I'm going to be covering Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers and Horror House on Highway 5. So you can look forward to that. And actually, Horror House on Highway 5 is a Vinegar Syndrome release. And Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers is a retro media release. And also keep in mind that Sunday, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be doing the Pieces Watch Along. So feel free to stop by, bring your popcorn and beverage of choice, and join me for that. I think it's going to be fun. I'll stay on here a couple more minutes before I get off of here and for the night and try to get some rest. I got 2 more days this week and then I'm off and I get paid on Friday, so that's always a good thing. So, like I said, I'll stay on here a couple more minutes in case anybody wants to bring anything up during those couple of minutes. Johnny said, I'm selling stuff lately, extras only. Won't buy until late August. Too many sales this summer. Yeah. Someone actually finally bought my my Echo Show, what was it, Echo Show 8, and one of those Google smart learning thermostats. I wanted to sell it for $100, but some joker bid on it and got the winning bid for $100 and then never paid me for it. So I had to cancel that order and put it back out. And I had a buy it now option of $100, but I started the bidding at $58 and managed to get $58 out of it. So that's better than none. What she say? I'm holding out on the Blu-ray with a slipcover for Hide and Go Shriek. Are you really, or are you being sarcastic? So where's she going to come to my watch along on Sunday at 6? Or you got something more pressing to do? Because we're going to be watching Pieces. It should be fun. Darren, you say I keep saying that, John, but end up getting stuff. Yeah, that's usually how I am. I say I'm going to like not get anything for a while, and then I always do. It drives Steve absolutely crazy. You guys talk about your women getting kind of perturbed when you buy things. Well, Steve gets perturbed at me for buying things. John, you say Mercari is good. eBay sucks ass lately. Maybe I need to switch platforms, actually. Too many bots. See, that could have been what it was, but the guy that bid on mine, maybe somebody stole his name and was using a bot. Because I looked at the guy's reviews. The reviews started out good for him, and then like one not long before he bid on my stuff, they had the same trouble with him. They contacted him multiple times, and he never would pay them. What'd she say? If I'm around, I will, Dana. Might be going to visit my little nephew. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, definitely in this case, a nephew is more important than a piece of watch alone. But if you do have some free time and can pop in, that would be great. But yeah, I totally get that. If I had a choice between seeing my nephews and going to a watch along, I'd definitely go see my nephews. Um, but well, guys, it has been fun, but I think I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night. And I thank all of you guys that showed up tonight for this. And hopefully, I'll still be able to use my light. I hope Brandon hasn't broken my light. I can replace the tripod, but it might be a little bit more expensive to replace my key light. So I'm hoping that he did not break it. But anyway, you have a good one too, Darren. Bye, John. And I will see everybody on the flip side. Y'all have a good night now.